Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg. I'm going to try something a little bit different for July. In previous months, I've tried to do a monthly wrap-up where I talk about all the books that I read. And I read so much that I wind up skipping over some books or not talking about them fully. And I would like to mention a little bit each book that I read per month, but I can't do that in a monthly wrap up. So I'm going to try a weekly reading report or a weekly wrap up, something like that, where my number of books is a lot smaller and I can focus in a lot more and say something about each book. And if this doesn't work out, I'll just drop it. No big deal. And this week has been a rather busy week for me. I started off going to a friend's lake house for the weekend. Yay! It's fun to go to lake houses, especially when someone else owns the lake house and someone else owns the boat. But a weekend at the lake house means not a whole lot of reading gets done. There was also a 4th of July celebration where I had to go to a barbecue with neighbors. Yay, barbecue. But that also means a good part of an afternoon not spent reading. And then there was this little thing of a 27th wedding anniversary where I spent the day with my wife and didn't read a whole lot. So not a whole lot actually got read this week. But since I'm kind of cooking the books a bit this week, I have at least couple books to talk about. Now, one of these books was technically finished on June 30th, but I'm including it for the July weekend reading report because I read it for BookTube at War, and BookTube at War is in July. So I will start with the book that I liked the least and get down to the end with the book that I liked the most. And the book that I liked the least is Walking with Sam, a Father, a Son, and 500 Miles Across Spain by Andrew McCarthy. This is an audiobook. Technically, I started this audiobook on 5/13/23. It is also technically my wife's audiobook. We were going on a semi-long road trip, couple hours for the day, and she wanted to listen to an audiobook. She doesn't like my audiobook selection, so she bought one for herself. And this is a memoir by the former Brat Pack actor, Andrew McCarthy, who, when he was in his 20s, took a walk on the San Diego Trail across Spain. That's 500 miles. And when he hit the age of 58, curiously enough, my age, he wanted to walk that trail again and bring his 18-year-old son, 19-year-old son, a teenage son, and have a father and son experience walking across Spain. Now, for a 58-year-old man to do a 500-mile walk in 30 days is pretty darn good, and I will give him kudos for completing that. And he wrote the book himself. I am pretty sure he did not have a ghostwriter. He's no longer actively in the movie-making business or acting business, and he's doing writing. However, I found his writing style a little lightweight. It is what I'm going to be calling a cozy memoir, because none of the issues are really that devastating. One of the biggest issues is his son has just broken up with his first major girlfriend and is having a tough time. And I'm sorry, teenagers breaking up with girls. I know he's being a good father and being sympathetic and giving him a listening ear, but I really don't care about the love lives of teenagers. More interesting are his experiences on the trail in Spain, but still, he does not go very deep. And that's why I'm calling this a cozy memoir. Now, my wife actually liked it a lot. It is right up her alley, the kind of things that she enjoys. She does not like my dark books. So take that with a grain of salt. I rated it, if I were to do a BookTube rating or a Goodreads rating, 3 stars. I think my wife would have given it 4, maybe 4.5, somewhere around there. So that is the first book. And we actually finished that on Thursday. So it took a couple of months to finish listening to this book because my wife and I only listened to it when we were on long trips in the car together. So it took a while. And the book was narrated by the author, and he had a fine narrating voice. Another interesting part is that whenever there was dialogue from his son narrated his dialogue part. And I think that's a very interesting way to do an audiobook, but still not really my cup of tea for a book. Now, the next book I finished is the one I technically finished on June 30th for BookTube at War, and that is The Path to the Spider's Nest by Italo Calvino, also an audiobook. Now, Italo Calvino is one of the modern era's most famous Italian authors, and this is his first novel, written in his early to mid-20s. And it is the story of a young boy, Ping, in Italy during World War II. He is in a village. He lives with his sister, who was a prostitute. And he observes a German sailor coming to visit his sister quite frequently. And on his hip, he has a German pistol. And while the young boy is talking with some of the locals, they sort of dare him to steal that pistol. And lo and behold, Ping does steal that pistol. And what does he do? He hides the pistol in the woods in a place where there are spiders' nests. Of course, he gets caught. He eventually goes to a jail or a prison camp. And he eventually escapes and joins the partisans in the hills who are fighting the Germans and the fascists. Now, this is from the point of view of a young boy. So you don't get a lot of that hard detail, although there is some there that is sort of obscure because Italo Calvino is filtering it through a young boy's eyes. And you get a picture of a portion of the war in Italy during that time. I like this book. I'm not going to say it's a great novel from a great, I'm not going to say it's a great novel, although Italo Calvino is a great author. And it is very different from his later style. It's a young man's novel. But all in all, if you like that kind of thing, I could easily tell people to pick up this book, either read it or listen to it. The third book on this list is technically the best book that I read last week. For various reasons, I'm not going to rank it at the top slot, but this book is The Train Was on Time by Heinrich Boll. He is the German author who won a Nobel Prize for Literature. And again, this is a first novel written when he was very young. And it is the story of Andreas, who is a private in the German army very near the end of the war. Andreas knows the war is lost, and he is being sent to the Eastern Front on a train. And the trains in Germany were still very reliable. The trains ran on time. And he calculates how long he has to live until he gets to the Eastern Front, because he is sure once he gets there, he is going to die. He considers that the soon. And in the English translation, soon is capitalized. So a large portion of this novel is him fretting on the train of his imminent demise, what he thinks is fate, that he cannot escape. And it is a very powerful novel. I'm not going to tell you the end, because the end just struck me as a perfect little ending to Andreas's dilemma, because things do take a little bit of a turn towards the end of the book. But for that, You will have to find out. And it is just a good portrait of war, because you have this young soldier, he's 23 years old, heading out to the Eastern Front to face certain death. And he just captures this soldier's mood. He captures the other soldiers sort of not playing, but in the background. And they're all heading out. And maybe they too are thinking about their imminent demise on the Eastern Front, except for the soldiers that get off on the way there. Highly recommended. The last one I'm going to recommend is The Har, Haar, by David Sodergen. And this was a book that I read it in digital format. It is a book that came highly recommended by Nettie, Digging Books as her channel. And it is a horror novel. It is set on the coast of Scotland. There is Muriel. She is in her mid to late 80s. Her husband has passed away. She lives on her quiet little home on the coast of Scotland. Unfortunately, her town is being bought out by an American developer who wants to build a huge golf course. And this American is a billionaire, so he can afford to move people along their way. But Muriel and a few other residents want to hold out. This is a home that her husband built for her when they were young, and she wants to die in this home. Of course, the American billionaire does not give a fug what she wants. And with the last of the holdouts, he's getting a little rough. And this American billionaire, you probably know who he's modeled on, even though in this book, he's not a politician. So what happens is one day, she is at the beach, and Muriel discovers a sea monster. And she takes this sea monster home with her. Now, this sea monster is hungry, and it likes blood, human blood. She feeds it a little bit of her own, which enables it to go out and catch its own prey. And after that, you got to figure it out. But what I really liked about this book was the character of Muriel. You don't get characters in their 80s that often who are, she's 80, but she's a feisty old lady. And I really like that because she really does not want to give in to this American billionaire and his horrible golf course. So what does she do with that sea monster? Well, the sea monster has abilities of its own. And again, for a horror novel, his abilities are a little restrained. He's not a super sea monster with amazing supernatural powers, although he is definitely outside the realm of normal. And that's what I liked about it. And it amused me. The end amused me because there's this American billionaire who is not a real politician in America, but you get the point. And it's a satisfying ending to that book. So that is what I completed reading. And what am I currently reading? Or should I say, I'll do my DNF first. And this is a book that I DNF'd. This is Bomber by Len Deighton. I got about 118 pages. And I was actually really enjoying this book. But I started that on July 1st. And then I went away for my lake vacation weekend. And then I got stuck going to a car dealership to do some car service. And I read my Kindle instead of bringing this with me. And then I had my anniversary and I didn't read. And by that point, the book had just, the story had escaped me. So I had to set it down and I had to decide, do I want to start over or just start with a new book? And I decided to start with a new book. And the book that I started with was on my Kindle. It is digital. It is the Stygian collection by HollyRhiannon and Pei Vio. This is a collection of short stories by fellow booktubers. And I read about the first 60 pages while waiting for my car to be serviced. And what I'm going to be doing now after that is just reading about a short story a day on most days. And I should have it finished by the end of the month. But the book that I picked up after setting down Bomber was this one, The Dirty Dozen by E.M. Nathanson. I'm only about 50 pages in, but so far, this is really good fun. Kind of slow, but slow in the good way that books written in the early 60s are slower than modern fiction. And I like that slowness. I like the level of detail where you're stuck with the character and you're learning the character's in and outs in a slow way and not rushing to some action. I know there's going to be some action later on, but right now the pace is building up. And so far, I really like it. On audio, I am about 60% of the way through this one. The Wall by John Hersey. I know I said audio, but I'm holding up a paperback because I just happened to have the paperback and I got the audio version from the library. This is the story of the ghetto uprising in Warsaw, Poland during World War II. All the characters are Jews in the ghetto. And slowly but surely, the Nazis are tightening their knot on the Jews in this ghetto. And things are not going well for them. And slowly, at 60%, they were thinking, why are we just sitting there and letting them kill us? Because they know that the Jews being taken out by train every day are going to their death. And I really enjoy it. It has a very odd style. It starts off as if this is a work of nonfiction. There is a character who wrote this all down, and intermingled with the shorts in the story are his supposed footnotes explaining certain situations. So it's like the author wants this to be a work of nonfiction, even though it's fiction. Actually liking this a whole lot. And that is my first week of July reading report. Thank you for watching and keep on reading.